were proposed to by Charlie in 2020. You started dating him in 2018, and 3 years before that, you were dating this guy, Tyler Massey. I mean, you guys would do couples photo shoots. This is still online. And this is only 3 years before you started dating Charlie.
He's in heaven.
Yeah, and 2 years later, you were dating this guy, Cabot Phillips, and here he is posting you guys on his public page saying, yes, we're that couple who gets painting lessons together. Again, this is a year before you started dating Charlie, and well within the 5-year period you claim to have never dated anyone, but you were out here dissing your roommate for dating.
For 5 years. I never dated here because I saw vicariously through my roommate how terrible it was. Somehow getting drinks was the replacement of having coffee and breakfast. I personally would rather have coffee or brunch with someone than go. I don't drink. I find it unproductive, not because I'm holier than whatever. I just don't operate that way. But I always thought it was very strange how she would go to drinks with one guy and then go to dinner with another. So it goes twofold here. So if you're expecting to marry someone that I was blessed with, like a Charlie, you have to be the type of woman that will attract a Charlie. Are you going to church? Are you going to Bible study? Did you tell your pastor?
For months, the internet kept circling the same uncomfortable question. And strangely, nobody close to Charlie Kirk seemed eager to answer it. Were the kids really his? The topic kept popping up in comment sections, forums, and late-night live stream debates, but there was always silence from the people who might actually know the truth.
Was until I hosted the first Trump rally in Trump rally history right here in Arizona in 2015. I got a call from Miss Erika Kirk, Miss Arizona 2012. I just want to help, she said. So naturally, I put her right behind the president.
Now, things have taken a dramatic turn because a doctor's leaked report has started spreading online. And if the DNA results people are sharing are accurate, they don't just raise doubts about Erika Kirk's story, they suggest a completely different father could be involved. But before anyone jumps straight to the headline, the timeline matters, and the story didn't begin with this leak. The rumors about Erika's children didn't appear overnight. For months, people online had already been whispering about strange gaps in the timeline, about past relationships, and about why certain questions were never addressed publicly. The topic of DNA testing kept surfacing again and again, and one particular name started getting mentioned more frequently: Cabot Phillips. That's why this angle suddenly has everyone paying attention. To understand why people are connecting those dots, you have to go back to the image Erika originally built when she first stepped into the public spotlight beside Charlie.
But the Lord used him. The Lord used him for me.
How long did it take you to fall in love with him?
That's the funny thing is it's so interesting because when we were sitting there, I fell in love with how brilliant he was to be able to articulate what he believed in. And when he said, I'm not going to hire you, I'm going to date you, I knew that was the Lord, because there were so many times where I said, my future husband that's out there, he will literally, it will be the only reason why I look up is because the Lord says to look up, and that was something to look up to when someone's like, I'm gonna date you. And so but honestly, it was the constant consistency of, I'm here for you.
How to be a biblical woman in society. I think it was Elizabeth Elliot that said, being a woman does not make me a better Christian or a certain Christian, but being a Christian makes me a very different woman. And I think understanding, yes, your biblical role, but also be the woman that your future husband deserves. Be the woman that, God wants you to be. You don't have to be out partying. Don't, be crazy thinking I'm running out of time when your God is the author of time.
From the beginning, she was presented as the perfect counterpart to his brand, someone disciplined, deeply religious, and committed to traditional values. In interviews, she talked openly about her faith and described living a lifestyle very different from what people often associate with social media culture or modern dating. She framed her relationship with Charlie as something meaningful and guided by purpose, almost like it was meant to happen. For a long time, that narrative held strong. Supporters saw her as someone who reinforced Charlie's message about faith, discipline, and values, but eventually the internet did what the internet always does. People started digging. Old clips, archived interviews, forgotten posts, all of it began resurfacing. And once those pieces started getting replayed side by side, some viewers began noticing small inconsistencies that hadn't stood out before. That's when the first real cracks in the story started to appear. One of the first surprises that caught people off guard came when viewers discovered that Erika had once appeared on a season of the reality series Summer House.
And I went to it. You went to a job interview. Literally. So this is how good the Lord is. He knew that because I was not dating in New York City, he knew that in order for me to know that that was my man, he had to blanket Charlie as a job interview. Because if that went in, no joke, if he came to me and said, hey, let's go on a date to Bill's Burgers, I'd be like, I am so sorry. Thank you, but no, we're not doing this. That was my mindset. I was not in that headspace. I just wasn't. But God will work in incredible ways when you surrender the pen for him to write your love story. And when you know that, look, if I remain in the jet stream of God's will, he will provide for me in ways I cannot even imagine. And that is my prayer for you. My prayer for you is to remain open.
Years before she was publicly known alongside Charlie, the show followed a group of young professionals spending their summers in the Hamptons, socializing, partying, and living that fast-paced New York lifestyle. Clips from that season showed Erika drinking, laughing with friends, and moving through a social scene that looked very different from the image many people later associated with her. Later on, Erika addressed that period in interviews, and simply appearing on the show didn't automatically prove anything serious, but the discovery sparked a question that kept coming up online. If that earlier lifestyle was harmless, why did it seem like there was such a strong effort to distance from it later? That curiosity pushed people to start digging deeper into her past, and soon another thread began getting attention: her relationships before meeting Charlie. Before the marriage, Erika had been publicly connected to several people, including Tyler and JT Massey. At the time, the connection with JT wasn't hidden at all. In fact, she spoke about him warmly in magazine interviews, describing him as a close friend and an important part of her life.
But just know that nothing is by mistake. Nothing. I will never forget the time I was in Israel with my husband. Well, that was the second time, but the first time with my mother on a pilgrimage. And I was standing in the ticket line. And I remember looking behind me, and in the snake of the ticket line was a guy who looked very familiar. I had no idea who he was. And I told my mom, this guy looks so familiar. And as a typical mother, she said, go and say hi. No. We were late for our flight, and I'm not going to come off like a crazy person that's just weird. That ended up being Charlie. Nothing is by coincidence.
When photos of the two together resurfaced years later, they spread quickly across social media because they didn't quite line up with the narrative that Erika had lived a completely different kind of personal life before Charlie entered the picture. But the conversation really shifted when an old video from a 2015 Trump rally started circulating again online. In the clip, Erika is standing beside a man with a young girl positioned between them. Viewers studying the footage closely noticed something interesting. Many believed the girl appeared to resemble JT Massey. And standing nearby in the crowd was another name people recognized right away: Tyler Bauer. That detail immediately grabbed attention because Tyler Bauer would later be credited as the person who introduced Erika to Charlie Kirk in the first place. Suddenly, what once looked like random old footage started raising a lot more questions online.
This is crazy.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
No, and I know you're going to keep saying that. I understand.
Yeah.
Like, I know that.
No, I know.
And I know there's probably no magic string of words that I could piece together to procure some type of answer. But yeah. I think on a surface level, like, I'm not going to walk out of here until I say my piece. Like, I mean, y'all know this. I just worked a series of 80, 90-hour weeks plus for AmFest.
Yeah, I think
I've had no direction or explanation since we've come back. Our CEO has been assassinated. I've done nothing but bend over backwards for this organization to the point where I'm wondering if this is a prank.
It's not a prank. I would never do that.
So I'm just trying to understand. And
no, I understand. It's time to...
So do I get to have a conversation with Dylan? Do I get to have a conversation with Justin or anybody? Or
Nope.
No, and there's no explanation as to why I'm gonna let go.
Right now, we're leaving all.
And you're gonna keep saying a different direction, but I'm just trying to understand how I've met multiple times with my.
We're going a different direction with the team, and I have to ask you to leave now.
You have to ask me to leave the property?
Yes.
Due to what, Frank?
Because we're asking you to leave because you've been terminated and we're not.
But there's no explanation or documentation for this. I've never had one bad review from Dylan. I've never had one issue with the company. I've never done anything unethical. And so I'm sitting here understanding why my entire livelihood is being completely tossed out. I mean, I sat in this chair.
You're gonna do great things.
No, and I
I don't think you're likely to being tossed out. I think you're very successful.
Well, my paycheck every other week is being tossed out, Frank, with absolutely no warning whatsoever.
I understand. But at this time, it's time for you to go.
It's time for me to go. Why? Like this is the treatment that Turning Point is offering now.
It's time to go, Carla.
Frank, this is crazy.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
I don't think you do. This feels very heartless. This feels without emotion.
I do understand where you're coming from.
This feels completely without emotion.
Tyler Bauer didn't just remain a casual connection either. Over time, he became a significant figure inside the leadership structure of Turning Point USA. Once viewers realized he had been present in the same environment years earlier, the story about Erika randomly meeting Charlie in an airport suddenly started sounding a lot less convincing. What once looked like a chance encounter began to feel more like something that may have already been connected behind the scenes. And that's exactly where the name Cabot Phillips enters the timeline in a much bigger way. Cabot wasn't just another person passing through the same circles, he worked as a senior editor within the same conservative media ecosystem that overlapped heavily with Charlie's network. Old tweets and archived photos show Cabot Phillips sharing images from what appeared to be a painting date with Erika.
And you can see from behind me, this is a recreation of the tent where Charlie Kirk lost his life at Utah University in September, and people are taking selfies with it.
I can't. I cannot. I am not capable of whatever that. When I saw this, I realized I do not know enough words. I had to consult a thesaurus, and I still could not land upon the correct adjective to describe how I felt when I saw that tent. People taking selfies under a recreation. I don't know if it's actually the tent. It looks like it's pretty old, or a tent that Charlie died under. That's what was happening at AmFest. Horrified. I was aghast. I don't think I ever described myself as aghast. I was aghast. It was ghastly to look at that and to realize that they made a conscious decision to allow that to happen. To what end?
Around that same time, there were also photos circulating of Cabot and Charlie attending events together as friends. Once people started lining up those timelines side by side, the narrative Erika had shared about meeting Charlie through a random job interview began to unravel quickly. If she was already spending time with Cabot while moving through the same political and media circles connected to Charlie's colleagues, then the idea that she had never been part of that environment before became much harder for some observers to accept. That's why Cabot Phillips speaking publicly now has pulled so much attention online. For years, many people believed he likely knew more than he ever said. He stayed close enough to understand what was happening inside that world, yet quiet enough to avoid becoming part of the public drama surrounding it. Now, with rumors spreading about a medical report that some online commentators claim links DNA results to Erika's pregnancy timeline, the conversation has shifted in a dramatic way. The speculation isn't just about whether Erika was fully open about her past anymore.
Apparently, Tom Brady and Erika Kirk are reportedly dating now, and this got 13 million views in just one day with 80,000 likes. But guys, it gets worse. Because as you know, in several podcasts with Charlie Kirk, Erika Kirk said that she would be single forever if they ever got a divorce or anything ever happened, right? Well, as you know, he passed away, that everybody already knows that, but yeah, apparently they are dating, and I really just don't even understand this. A lot of people are saying JD Vance is going to be sad. Obviously, that's just the joke because she was like hugging him on stage, but obviously she just like is touchy like that. So like that's the excuse.
The bigger question people are now asking is whether Charlie himself may have started having doubts at some point. Questions that some people say were never fully resolved before Charlie's death have now returned to the spotlight. Once the internet started re-examining the timeline piece by piece, the pressure for clear answers only grew louder. Observers pointed out that Erika never directly addressed the ongoing speculation about DNA testing. She didn't strongly deny the rumors, and she also didn't publicly clarify the situation in detail. Instead, she remained mostly silent while continuing to appear at public events and speaking engagements, and that silence quickly became one of the biggest talking points online. The timing made things even more noticeable because other controversies were surfacing at the same time. After Charlie's passing, Erika launched what many supporters initially viewed as a series of public tributes meant to honor his legacy. However, critics began describing the appearances differently, calling it a grief tour because of how often she was seen on stage at conferences and gatherings while her own public profile continued growing. Then another controversy arrived that sparked heated debate: the situation surrounding AmFest. During the event, a replica of the tent connected to the location where Charlie lost his life was reportedly recreated as part of the display.
USA did a massive purge of employees a few days ago, or at the end of, I guess, last week, you could say. What did you hear about that purge?
I heard there were 30 to 40 people purged, that they were looking for the leak. They knew there are leaks out of TPUSA. They are terrified of these leaks because of what TPUSA has been up to. And rather than try to be an honest organization, it's just let's get rid of all the people we think might be disclosing that we're a dishonest organization.
Photos circulating online showed stage lighting, merchandise booths, and attendees walking through the recreated structure and taking pictures. For some observers, the presentation felt uncomfortable, with critics arguing that the display risked crossing a line between honoring someone's memory and turning a tragic moment into a spectacle. At the same time, reports began surfacing about internal tensions inside Turning Point USA. According to several whistleblower claims shared online, a number of employees were suddenly dismissed with little explanation. Some staff members who had spent years helping build the organization reportedly found themselves pushed out without warning. The official explanation was that the organization was simply moving in a new direction. But critics and commentators online believe the sudden shakeup hinted at something deeper, possibly an effort to prevent sensitive internal information from leaking during an already turbulent moment. Against that entire backdrop, the rumors surrounding Erika's past relationships have only continued to grow louder online. Over the past few months, discussion threads across social media have linked her name to several public figures, including athletes and personalities connected to political circles. None of those claims have been confirmed, but the pattern of speculation has pushed many observers to question whether the carefully presented image of a grieving widow tells the complete story. All of that brings the conversation right back to the newest wave of debate: the alleged pregnancy report and the DNA results that have started circulating across the internet. If those documents people are sharing were ever proven to be real, the implications would stretch far beyond gossip about Erika's personal life. It would raise serious questions about whether Charlie spent the final years of his life privately dealing with doubts he never chose to address publicly. What makes the situation feel different now is how many timelines are suddenly colliding at once. Old footage has resurfaced, past relationships have been revisited, and viewers have started comparing earlier interviews with newer claims. On top of that, people keep pointing out the inconsistencies in how Erika described parts of her past, the noticeable silence around DNA testing, and now the name Cabot Phillips being mentioned directly in connection with the alleged results. When those pieces are placed side by side, the internet isn't just debating one rumor anymore. Instead, people are examining what they believe could be a much larger pattern. Charlie himself never went on camera making accusations, and he never publicly confronted these questions while he was alive. Now that he is gone, some observers believe the answers might not come from interviews or statements at all. They could come from documents and records instead, and that's exactly why so many people are watching this story unfold so closely. Because if even one verified document were to confirm a different father, it wouldn't just revive an old rumor, it could completely reshape how people understand the entire timeline surrounding Charlie's final years. If that's the case, the entire timeline of Erika's life inside those political circles could end up being re-examined from the ground up. Online reactions have already been intense, with some commenters speaking very bluntly about the situation. One user wrote, "Her not being a mother in the absence of their father is diabolical." Another commenter said, "DNA test on them kiddos. Charlie parent need a DNA test on those kids ASAP." Comments like that have been spreading quickly across social media as people continue debating what really happened. And when the internet starts demanding proof like this, it usually means people believe something bigger might be hiding underneath the surface. The real question now isn't whether the rumors exist. Everyone already knows they do. The question is whether the evidence people keep pointing to will ever actually confirm them. Because if a DNA result like the one being discussed were ever officially verified, it wouldn't just shift the conversation. It could completely change how this entire story is remembered. It could also reshape who people believe was telling the truth from the very beginning. If the past few months have shown anything, it's this: the more people dig into this story, the more questions seem to appear. So what do you think is really going on here? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. And make sure you check out the next one, because this story might be far from over.